Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, we're doing part 6 of the story about the 3 husbands uniting to handle their wives, the ones that were cheating on them on girls' nights for 4 years. And as where things left off a couple hours ago, that's when one of the husbands, Steve, found out that their neighbor Hector invited his very soon-to-be ex-wife in living with him. And it's quite ridiculous, as well as all these updates going on with the other wives living with their boyfriends and all that. So I'm going to pick up exactly where I left off a couple hours ago. It says here, I asked Steve what it's like living next door to Jesse. He shrugged, and when he first heard that Jesse was moving with Hector, he thought about moving to Kathmandu. But as long as Jesse leaves him alone and Hector doesn't bother him about Jesse, he doesn't care where she lives. She calls him to talk and gossip about Liv and Fran, but she hasn't knocked on his door. If that happens, he'll tell Jesse to get lost. Oh, good. But right now, Jesse's a source of information that's valuable, so use that resource, even though he wants to scream every time he sees her. So in the last few weeks, Liv was out of town with her lover. Fran was with Bob's big boy and seeing the cop on the side, and Jesse was living next door to Steve with Hector. Liv has not been seen or talked to her children or James in weeks. Fran hasn't seen her kids, but talked to them on the phone a few times. If you told me 6 weeks ago that this would be our lives, I would have thought you were insane. Yeah, I can understand. We found out our wives were cheating when my wife Fran asked for an open marriage. That was the middle of November. The last update was the beginning of December, and now at the end of the second week of December, and things with our wives have changed somewhat. I also want to point out it's the holidays. You know, all this shit's going down now during a time of year when family gets together, whatever you celebrate. And this is going on for the kids and all that. It's an unbelievable shame. Our attorney told James to get Liv's address so he can serve her with papers giving James full custody of his kids. He called Liv to get her address. This is what James told us about their conversation. He asked her where she was, and she said at her parents', but why did he want to know where she was? James said his lawyer needed to have her sign papers. What papers, she said. Papers that gives James custody of the kids. Why should she sign them giving James custody, she said. She loves her kids, and James wants the marriage and her family back. Yeah, I can really tell by your actions, Miss Liv, how much you love all of us. That's what she and James should be talking about, and not who gets custody. James said Liv hasn't had any contact with the kids in weeks. She abandoned her kids. They need to make James custody of their children official. Liz says she couldn't see the kids because she was hospitalized. Any proof of that? After James and I confronted her about her horrible behavior, she was overcome with grief and self-loathing. She was devastated that James was so hurt and so angry with her. The possibility that she wrecked her marriage was overwhelming to her. How could she do this to someone she loves so much? Yeah, sure, honey. Her parents insisted she get help. She voluntarily entered a local hospital to deal with her depression and has been an inpatient there since she left James and the kids. Oh, so you're saying you're in the hospital. You're not with some lover 700 miles away, honey? But she's back at the parents now. She feels better, but still a wreck. At times crying uncontrollably and doesn't want the kids to see her like this. Again, you're 700 miles away with a lover. Your pal Jesse spilled the beans. And that is why she hasn't seen the kids. As soon as she feels better, she'll come and see them. So James asked Liv at her parents', and she said yes. She's not abandoned her kids. She's not signing anything. James told her lawyer that Liv says she's at her parents, but she says she won't sign anything. The lawyer said to him, it doesn't matter what she signs, we'll serve her the paperwork and file custody with the court. I told Liv says that she hasn't seen the kids because she's been hospitalized for weeks with depression. The lawyer says it won't matter much. If she wants to tell a judge that she's been institutionalized because she has having mental issues, let her. A real winner when you're trying to get custody of your kids. It doesn't matter what Liv says or does, we'll get the kids. Well, don't count your chickens. James told us all this at our Thursday support session. Jesse told Steve that Liv was at her boyfriend's in the Midwest. Liz says she's been under care here and is now back with her parents. Steve asked James where he thought Liv really was, with her parents or with the lover in the Midwest. James said with the lover. Steve said, let's see. He asked James if they had a tracking app on their phones. James said he didn't know. Liv talked about tracking the kids at one point, but James doesn't know if she did anything about that. Steve asked for James's phone, and after a few moments, Steve said Liv's phone is in the Midwest. James asked Steve to show him how to use the app. There you go. You're not going to fight technology. I asked James why Liv would tell him that she was hospitalized. It's so easy to prove it's not true. She can't tell a judge that she didn't see the kids because she was in the hospital when she really was with her lover. Because she's a pathological liar, that's why. James said that's a story not for the judge, it's for James. She thinks telling him that she's stuck will tug at his heartstrings. He'll want to take care of her, he'll take her back. Liv's betting that she'll never have to explain why she abandoned her kids because they'll be back at home with James and the kids, business as usual. Well, she thought wrong. It goes on. Why was Liv back at her parents? Jesse told Steve Jesse told Steve the lover Liv was seeing was other women. Wanted Liv to contribute towards rent and groceries, and wanted Liv to do some cleaning and cooking. Liz said she wasn't interested in being with a cheater, she wasn't going to give him any money, and she wasn't going to be his housekeeper. Also, he was a slob, grouchy most of the time, and away nights with no explanation. Romantic nights in a hotel room were one thing, but living with this guy was a whole other thing. All the magic and excitement from their romance was gone. Liv couldn't stand the guy anymore. It was as bad as being married. So she decided to return to her parents. Liv was not having much success living with her lovers. Yeah, no kidding. What about Fran? Jesse reported that Fran moved out of Bob's big boy and moved in with a detective. Oh, for God's sakes. Bob was too controlling. He always wanted to know where she'd been and who she'd been doing. Or what she's been doing, but more like who she's been doing. They argued about Fran going out clubbing without him. He refused to give her money. I canceled her credit cards and removed the money from my joint account, so at this point, she was dependent on her lovers for money. Bob was willing to support Fran, but only if she played by his rules. Fran doesn't believe rules apply to her. Yeah, pretty much every other modern gal nowadays. When she stayed all night and didn't get back to Bob until almost 10 a.m. the next morning, Bob told her no more nights out unless she's with Bob. Once again, the cheater is getting cheated on, and the cheater is cheating again. Big surprise there. Fran wanted to go out every night, preferably without Bob, as she's an alternative to Bob. She left Bob to go live with the detective. The detective, about her age, was willing to go out with her and pay for everything as long as Fran didn't go home with anyone else. So, is this the cop, or this is the detective that was questioning Jesse? This just gets better and better. Fran told Jesse that living with a detective was all too confining. She liked him, but liked other men too. When he had every evening or night shifts, he wanted her to stay home and wait for him. It was as bad as being married. Worse, because the detective was so stingy, she had to account for every penny. She needs her own money. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Can't turn an HOE into a housewife or even a girlfriend. Right here. Fran had to account for every penny because while Bob could support her, the detective could not. At least not at the rate that Fran was spending his money. He couldn't afford bar hopping until late every night. He didn't want other guys buying Fran drinks, so I guess he or both they decided I should help out. The detective showed up at my door a week ago, Wednesday night. The doorbell rang and pinged to my phone when he approached my door. I looked at the app to see who it was. Steve had described the detective to me in case he showed up here looking for Fran. He was hanging his badge around his neck and he rang my doorbell. I just don't buy this. This is just too out there. But I'll tell this story anyway. I figured this conversation should probably be recorded. I opened the recording app on my phone and put it in my shirt pocket. The shirt I was wearing hit... Here comes the fire department. The cardigan I was wearing hid the phone. I opened the door, he told me his name and that he was a police detective. He asked me to confirm my name. When I did, he pushed past me to my house. What? Really? No warrant? Nothing? Huh? He told me there was a police complaint filed against me and he was here to investigate. I wasn't providing any spousal support to my wife and is entitled to. The cop said I'm a deadbeat. He and his friends don't look like deadbeats. Fran is still my wife even though she left me. I still need to support her, I said, so my wife wants money and he's here to get it. Oh, okay. He said my wife thought $1,000 a week was appropriate. What is this guy, the fucking mob? We'll see how that amount works out. I should make the check out to Fran. He'll make sure she gets it. Now, if this is true, then this guy obviously is a cop, a detective abusing power. Not that that doesn't ever happen, but still. Isn't payments and settlements worked out by the attorneys and the courts, not by just Joe Schmo police officers banging this guy's wife? I asked, why would I do that? There's no court order requiring me to pay her anything. There you go. He moved toward me and got in my face. Oh, please tell me you have cameras. He told me not to be a jerk. If I didn't give him the check right now, he would make my life miserable. Well, he actually is recording all this. His buddies on the force had all my information. Every time I blinked, one of them would pull me over and give me a ticket. I'll get tickets for jaywalking. If I want to play hardball, I might even get arrested for assaulting a cop when resisting arrest. And they'll make sure it looked like I really kept on resisting arrest. I told him to get out. He told me I was making a big mistake. I should just give him the money. I told him again to get out. He told me they were going to all make my life miserable. Oh, I love the fact that he's recording this with his phone, if this part is true. Don't even think about reporting this. It's his word against mine, and he has 15 guys who he says that he was with them tonight and not here. Cops don't like people who complain about cops. They'll take care of their own, and they take care of a-holes who make trouble for cops. His buddies really would not be happy with me. He continued to threaten me, but left when he realized I wasn't going to give him the money. He said he'd be back for the money I owe him that I owe Fran. I checked to make sure I had a good recording. I did. Okay, well, this is true. This is going to be quite interesting. I told the other two husbands at our Thursday workout about the cop's visit. They asked what I was going to do. I told them I sent the recording to our attorney that morning and told him to file a formal complaint against the police. Maybe I can get him fired. Yeah, maybe you can get some money out of the city as well. There you go. James said it's a wonder cops still haven't learned that they're being recorded. I said he had no reason to think I was recording him. He thought I didn't know who he was. Why would I record some random stranger knocking on my door? I wouldn't know he was there to shake me down. Too bad for him, I knew who he was. I really want this part to be true because it isn't that hard to believe that some cop or detective was abusing their power. Guess what? It happens. And would have all his buddies lie for him. And you get the point. But this is still a stretch. Steve added that the cop is too arrogant to care. He thinks his friends in the police department will protect him. And he's desperate. He can't afford Fran, and he doesn't want Fran to leave him. Getting money from me was his solution. I told him the cop was a fool. Once Fran had her own money, he'd just be another toy. One among many. My attorney called to tell me Fran's cop boyfriend was put on administrative leave Thursday afternoon. Oh, how about that? There's going to be an IA investigation. I was about to say, what about IA? They have a copy of the recording I sent to my attorney. They'll be interviewing me next Tuesday at our attorney's office. Oh, that'll be fun. Jesse told Steve that Fran decided to leave the detective. He blamed her for his IA problems, and he couldn't support Fran in the way she wanted. The cop was getting nasty and too stingy. Time for Fran to move on. Fran really couldn't go back to her parents. Her father was outraged at her behavior, fueled by reminding him of his wife's infidelity. Fran's mother didn't want Fran around as a constant reminder of that. And she didn't really want him finding out that she's still seeing the guy she cheated on him with years ago. Of course. But I still want to know where you get that little detail. Fran has always known about her mother's boyfriend. Okay. Has even met him. So Fran knew why her mother was anxious for Fran to be elsewhere. Fran's infidelity put her father back on high alert about Fran's mother. Her mother was now going crazy, constantly worried her husband would find something she hadn't erased from her phone or didn't hide well enough. Fran had to leave, so he calmed down. Fran couldn't live at home. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I asked Fran why she was telling me about her mother's continuing infidelity. She said she wanted me to see things like her silly affair with Bob was something that was not uncommon. Even her parents had issues with adultery. They survived and had a happy marriage. Her mother's continued relationship with her boyfriend has helped their marriage. Listen to her trying to twist it around to be her benefit. Her father is only upset now because I told him a bunch of lies about Fran. Fran thinks her dad knows about her mother's boyfriend, but ignores it because he loves her mother so much. Fran's not saying she's ever going to be unfaithful again. She's just saying that infidelity is fairly common and people should just move on like her parents did. Yeah, bullshit. Your dad moved on because her dad's a pussy and a fool. And, oh my God. I wondered if Fran's father knew about her mother's continuing infidelity. I decided to call him, as you should. He knew who I was from the caller ID, and I'm not his favorite person, so he answered yes. I asked how he was. He answered by asking me what I wanted. Was I going to apologize for all the lies I told him about Fran? What a jackass. He actually buys into this? I told him no. I was calling because Fran told me that he had discovered that Fran's mother was cheating on him. He said that was years ago. They were going through a rough patch, and his wife made a mistake. Brainwashed. Same thing has happened with Fran and me. I told him that Fran just told me her mom's affair is ongoing. It never ended. Same guy. Fran and her mother think it's good for your marriage for her mother to have a boyfriend. Does he agree? He He didn't say anything, he just hung up on me. Well, you know what? Given how he was treating this dude here, fuck him. He deserves this weak-ass bitch. Fran talked to Liv and Jesse about getting a place together, but Liv has no money either. James wasn't giving her anything, and he canceled her credit cards. Now remember, Fran and Liv did not work. They were quote-unquote homemakers. And the only money they had was the money from the husbands who put the money in the joint accounts and the credit cards, but they canceled the cards and took the money out of the accounts and all that. The idea of getting jobs never occurred to either of them. Jessie has money, she's working, but as she moved in with Fran and Liv, Jessie knew she'd essentially be living in a brothel. Steve would think she's going back to her old ways. Also, she was the only one working. Liv and Fran would look for her for money. She wasn't interested in living with Fran and Liv. You could put all three of them together. They can have cameras put all over the house like that show Big Brother, and they make a fortune on fucking social media just showing these nut jobs in their everyday lives. There's an idea. That's how they can make money. So Fran figured the best thing for her was to return to me and my sons. She told Jessie it would be rough for a while. I'd keep an eye on her, but that would ease over time. In the meantime, she wouldn't be strapped for money. No more fighting with Bob or the detective for every penny. Her personal ATM, me, would be full and ready for withdrawals. And I couldn't watch her every minute. I'd be working and the kids would be in school during the day. Plenty of opportunity. So that's her plan, huh? So Fran called me and told me she can't live with her parents anymore. Her father found out that her mother is still cheating and threw her out. Now the mom's thrown out. I love it. Her mother's living with her mother's sister. Her father is furious at Fran. It's an impossible situation. She wants to be with me and the kids. She's ready to return home and start our lives anew. Nope. Not happening. She'll come home and cook dinner for us every night. I told her the door locks have been changed. If she tries to break in, I'll have her arrested. She said she'll wait for the kids after school. They'll let her in. I told her they have after-school activities. I picked them up on the way home from work. She's not getting in my house. Fran started crying, of course. She loves me. She loves the kids. She can't live without us. Cobag Handbook, Chapter 9. She wants to come home. That's all she can think about. She knows she let me and the kids down, but she'll make it up to us. Remember you were banging the detective who just came by the house to make trouble for me and threaten me and shake me down, and Bob's big boy and all that, and all the other lies? Yeah, come on back. We'll be a happy family. She'll be the perfect wife and mother. Hobag Handbook, Chapter 4. She just needs the chance to show me and the kids how much she wants and needs us, and how much we need her. Please give her that chance. No. I asked if the detective who spent a year looking for Fran got his chance. He should be happy now that Fran is fulfilling all his fantasies. No more just a BJ and a view of her backside running out of the hotel room. And how was Bob's big boy? Still filling her up with joy? I hung up on her. She can live in the street for all I care. After she left, the detective, Jessie, told Steve that she went back to Bob's big boy. I almost felt sorry for him. Quite a story, gentlemen. Liv did the same with James. She told James she's ready to come home. She needs him and the kids. She's made some serious mistakes, but she loves James and the kids. Mistakes my ass. She'll change. She'll be faithful from now on. She started crying. She's so miserable without him and the kids. She can't live without them. Does James want to be responsible for her doing something drastic because she's so down? Oh, okay, so if she does anything to herself, it's not because of her. It's because of him. It's all on him. Bullshit. James asked Liv if she's really in such a bad way that she's thinking about harming herself. He said he was very concerned. Was Liv really that desperate? Liv thought that old James, the loving husband, could come. She could always run over, had finally returned. Relieved the old James was back, she jumped on it and told James that she was in a very bad way. She started crying even harder. The only cure for how she feels is to be James' loving arms again. So she turned. The second she saw some weakness, or perceived weakness, she turned up the tears. Imagine that. If James doesn't let her return home, she wasn't sure she could go on. James would be to blame for what happened. Her depression was getting worse. It would be James's fault if their kids lost their mother. She was howling now. The Oscar goes to Liv for Best Actress of all time. James waited for her to settle down to the sobbing and said he wasn't sure he should bring the kids or not. What did Liv think? Liv asked what he was talking about. Liv stopped crying. Bring the kids where? To her memorial service? James told Liv to make sure her parents let him know when, when it is. James hung up on her. Fran and Liv concluded that their husbands weren't going to just open their arms and welcome them home. They then decided to get a lawyer. They're using the same lawyer. Their lawyer made all sorts of demands: money, custody of the kids, child support, the house. Our lawyer said the only thing we need to worry about is that their lawyer wants an expedited hearing before the judge because the wives are claiming they're homeless and penniless in dire straits. We have to come up with some money for Fran and Liv. If we don't, the wives will get the expedited hearing. If the wives claim they're homeless, the judge could order that they return to our homes. So that's what I was waiting for. If the wives claim they want to reconcile, the judge could order marriage counseling. If they claim they're penniless, the judge can order us to give them an allowance that the judge determines. And I'm sure with all their waterworks, some blue-pilled, nice guy, dumb fuck judge will do just that. Once the judge decides on the amount, it will only go up, never down. We don't want to talk about money in front of the judge. To prevent all this, James and I need to come up with some money for them to live on right now. If we're giving them money, they can't say they're penniless. The homelessness is nonsense, and they can easily disprove it. Regardless of where they are right now, they both say they're living with their parents. We want a judge to decide about custody now while the mother's abandonment of their kids is still fresh and can't be disputed. But what we want to be in front of the judge only about the children. With the custody issues decided, we don't want to see the judge again until we each have comprehensive divorce settlements. But we don't ever want a judge involved with decisions about money. James and I have no choice but to start giving Fran and Liv some money. We agreed to weekly payments. Well, that was bound to happen, you know. With the money we started to give to them, Fran and Liv rented an apartment together. They can't move in until after the first of the year. It will be hookup central. Good for us. They won't have room for the kids at their place, not even for sleepovers. They really have abandoned their kids. Talk about pieces of garbage. Yeah, it's going to be hookup central to find the next sucker who they can mooch off of. Jesse's living with Hector's next door to Steve. When Jesse calls Steve, he tells her at the beginning and the end of the conversation to get a lawyer. Jesse refuses. Our lawyer tells Steve that Jesse can't stop the divorce, but she needs an attorney. The judge will not be happy if Jesse is not represented by counsel. Jesse hasn't asked for anything. Our lawyer told Steve not to be surprised when that changes. Yes, it's going to change. So we're in the middle of December. All three husbands are proceeding with our divorces. Liv really doesn't want the kids, but wants the child support. Of course. Fran figures she'll take the kids, get child support, and dump the kids on me. Her mother or have me hire a nanny. Kids can get in the way of having serious fun. Both James and I are waiting for court dates about custody. Neither Fran or Liv will end up with the kids. Jesse and Hector continue to conspire to get Steve to get Jesse back. Steve says Jesse and Hector are going to be together forever. He'll never take her back. Steve forwarded the pictures of Jesse in the men's room from Jesse's phone to his phone. He had the pictures of Jesse smiling with the guy's knob in her mouth blown up and framed. He hung it over his toilet. Whenever he takes a piss, he looks at Jesse in the men's room. No, Steve's not taking Jesse back. The end of part 6. So yes, there are parts of this story that definitely, but I keep doing it because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, and it's just amazing the shit that goes on in this world. And frankly, there's a lot of you that like this story. So we will see how things continue to play out. But guys, stay strong. I'm glad you didn't give graphic details this time about their exploits. And take it one day at a time and keep me updated with regards to the judge and the ruling and giving those hoe bags money and all that. And again, it's December, and I really feel bad that this is happening this time of year. But then again, it all started a few weeks ago when your wife asked for an open marriage, and then we're off to the races. But anyway, guys, stay tuned because I know part 7 and 8 will be coming down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.